This is some podcast.
No, it's not. Quit fronting.
This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, and I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Yo, Jason Glick.
Hey,
How you doing?
I am doing good.
And
I'm
got Myron.
just Myron.
And he's just Myron. He's just hanging
Yeah.
out here.
But we like having Myron hang out
Of
because
course.
he's much better person to talk about comic art than I am. So I'm all about the writers. And while I love a lot of the artists, it's like I don't buy books because of artists. I buy them because of writers. Like this one right here. Because as I told you at the end of the last podcast, I'm here to talk about Ex Machina, the great superhero science fiction political series by writer Brian Vaughan and artist Tony Harris.
All right. What's Ex Machina mean? That's like some foreign language, right?
Yeah, it's Latin.
Latin.
Yeah, so
Good
you
language.
should already know what it means if you're familiar with like Deus Ex Machina.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
basically means like the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is basically the superhero alter ego of civil engineer Mitchell Hundred. You see, it's like back in the day, like when he was examining something that some strange object out by the Brooklyn Bridge, it explodes in his face, and he winds up with the power to be able to talk to machines. Basically, he can tell them to do anything that he wants. It's like and they'll listen to him. So what is a guy like him? He's not like a comic book geek per se, but he's definitely has like a long comic book reading history. He figures I'm going to use my powers to become a superhero, and so he becomes the Great Machine. So with the help of his buddy Bradbury and his older father figure Kremlin, Russian guy who used to work out in Coney Island, he becomes like a vigilante, like helping to fight crime and like make New York safe for everyone. Now, but the thing is, like eventually he realizes that like I'm kind of a crap superhero, so like I can actually do much more, like it's like from like in a political position, like try to say running for mayor of New York. I figure like the notoriety I've gained in this position, I can leverage that to become like New York mayor. Actually, I try to affect real change from a nice public position, and that's where the politics of the series comes in, because he does want to becoming a mayor of the city after he stops one of the planes from crashing into the Twin Towers on 9/11. Because that's the thing about the series, because like it is very meant to be our world but different, and Vaughn establishes that really well in the first issue when he shows you like just like a day in the life of 100 as he goes around doing his political appointments, and at the very end revealing that one of the Twin Towers is still standing. Like it's a very like short, sharp shock that tells you like what the series is going to be like, and like it's also interesting because like Vaughn has said in interviews that he likes to use his comics to work out his issues with real life, and if Why the Last Man was his attempt to work out his gender issues. Pride of Baghdad was him working out his issues with the Iraq War. Ex Machina is his attempt to like make sense of 9/11 and all the chaos and change that surrounded our country in the aftermath. And it's a great, fascinating series. I mean, it's a fun lesson in civil discourse as you watch Mayor Hundred try to navigate through the very rocky seas of like the most populous city on earth, New York City, and he tries to like solve problems from like someone who's killing snowplow drivers. What are the issues like also when he wants to like perform a gay marriage between one of his deputy mayor's brother and his boyfriend. Also like when he tries to serve jury duty to like make sure this help the system work, when he has to like oversee the chaos after an anti-war protest is attacked by sarin gas. No, sorry, it's recent. My bad. And also all sorts of great stuff. It's a great and he's not. And interesting about Hundreds, he's not specifically trying to be like a Democrat or a Republican. He's specifically an independent, and he winds up like annoying people on both sides of the fence. Sure. It's like in this, and that comes into play later. It's like later on in the series when he realizes that when he realizes his main ambition that he eventually realizes that hey, the real it's like the real issue is that he wants to become he does want to become president of the United States, like, and try to affect real change. But I'm getting backing up a bit, like, because the thing is about, like, Ex Machina probably couldn't have survived in, like, modern comic book climate if it hadn't been marketed as kind of a superhero book. And this is a Wildstorm panel. They did all sorts of good superhero hybrid stuff, like with the Wildcats 3.0, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips Sleeper, and essentially, like, it did kind of trade on that kind of superhero stuff, because while you're seeing Hundred's activities as mayor, it's also intercut, like, with all of his adventures as the Great Machine, and you see him doing all sorts of fun superhero stuff, like, like talking with the commissioner, like trying to talk with the commissioner about his vigilante activities, fighting his arch nemesis John Ferguson, who has the ability to talk to animals, and also just, like, fighting all sorts of crazy people who inhabit New York, because it's a really goddamn crazy city, and it's like it kind of trades on it, but it's kind of fun how it deflates a lot of that stuff, because you realize that, hey, like, 100 may have the best of intentions, he really was kind of a crap superhero, especially when his initial meeting with the police commissioner, like, he figures, like, oh, I can talk to her and just tell her, no, I'm not a villain, I'm not crazy, I just want to help you people, and she just says, dude, you idiot! Like, you've just all your actions, you've caused more chaos than you've actually, like, managed to, like, avert. And this finally hits him. It's like, dude, when he finally has this realization, that's what pushes him to become, like, mayor. It's really, it's like watching his actions, like back, his past actions as a superhero. You realize, like, that, this is probably kind of what it really feels like a really credible like, depiction of what superheroes would be like in the real world, like, or at least if one guy had extraordinary powers and how they would react to that. It's, like I said, it's really interesting. But the thing is, and I talked about this on my blog earlier this year, about how the next most recent volume, Bring Out the Old, basically serves as a repudiation of all this superhero stuff. Now, it's kind of interesting. Like, you look at all of Hundred's actions when he was a superhero, and it's kind of like he's arranging this stuff, because he was, like, a big comic book fan, like, and all this stuff, all the superhero action, like, plays out, like, just like you'd expect it would. I mean, he's got his arch nemesis, he's got his sidekicks, he's got his like recurring villains and stuff like that, like, but it's also because he ordered it that way. I mean, like, his actions like, direct this kind of stuff. Then you get to Bring Out the Old, and then it all becomes clear, because the thing is, you realize that, no, you have not been reading any kind of superhero story. You have been reading a straight up science fiction tale, because it turns out that the origin of Hundred's powers has also been, like, a good has been a mystery throughout the series. You eventually find out why he was given them, and it's not for a good purpose at all. And in fact, and actually, the best thing about Bring Out the Old is that it also brings into focus a lot of the stuff that I have issues with throughout the series, because Vaughan is a great writer, and he writes, and like, a lot of the stories are interesting. There's also a lot of, like, stuff that you're just gonna read it and go, huh? Because, like, some stories, like that, where the message is kind of garbled, like in March to War. I mean, like, his anti-war message just doesn't really come through. I don't think it comes through well at all. And also particularly Power Down, which has the appearance of a weird guy named Zeller, like, saying all sorts of cryptic things about Hundred's origins. And I was just kind of like, what was the goddamn point of those 4 issues you had with this guy? And also, he also gets an exorcism performed on him by Pope John Paul II, which, just makes him seem all the more awesome in my book. So I mean, and like, but stuff like that seems kind of weird and strange. And you're just kind of like, where is this going? Then you get to Bring Out the Old, and I keep hitting this one. But the thing is, Bring Out the Old basically brings all this stuff together. It's like, it shows you that, and once the whole purpose of this stuff is kind of revealed. Like, I kind of feel stupid for not realizing this beforehand. I mean, like, I liked going back and rereading all of these this past week because I look at all the stuff, like the crazy dreams that 100 has, and realize like, oh wait, now I know what the reason for this is. I mean, if you're not reading this for the first time, a lot of stuff is going to seem really strange, but this is one of the few examples that I've seen where they actually where like this one volume actually does a good job of putting everything into focus, and it's great because of that. And like I said, it's, to be honest, like if I hadn't read, if once we bring out the old, I'm not sure if I would have been putting this on my, if I've been gung ho about putting this on my 10 best list. And yeah, he also talks about this whole pot legalization debate, which also comes off as kind of a little garbled as well. But because like, well, I mean, a woman sets herself on fire, and that's like a great inciting incident, literally. But
damn, she tried to smoke herself.
Yes, she does. All because of after like 100 arrested like her son, who was a pot dealer, he gets into Rikers and he was stabbed the previous day. Mm-hmm. So like he's still kind of like paying for all of this stuff throughout the course of the series. And now the thing is, like once you get to bring out the old and everything comes clear, then the final volume, Term Limits. It's a good finale. It's definitely like cements the series as one of the best I've read this year. Even though it's like I'm still like angsting about the final story because like because the main story is basically like both pro-life debate between Mayor 100 and his deputy mayor Wiley, and then it also has showcases the efforts of one of 100's like former friends, even girlfriend, as she tries to undo everything that he's been trying to prevent. And that she's been awakened to the true purpose that his powers were given, and then she wants to fulfill that. Problem is, now that 100 is aware of it, he needs to prevent that because the reason he was given it, his powers were given, not a good thing. It's very, very, very bad, and it's just really bad news for everyone on Earth. Period. But like disaster is averted, and like ideally that would be a good place to stop. But the thing is, like one of the things about, as I said at the beginning, Vaughan has established that this series is our world but different. So like in theory, like rules of reality stuff to apply. It's like, and it's interesting how you hear 100 talk about things at the beginning of issue 50, the finale, how like he loves comic books because they don't end. Like they can because once you have an end, and then things progress beyond that, then you just find the same things: regret, pain, loss. I mean, and it's interesting, and then you see what happens to 100 after he managed to avert the disaster brought on by the people who gave him his powers, and then it leads him to eventually what is best described as a high-end mediocrity. And it's you understand like he wanted to be president, but what he ends up with, it's not spelled out specifically, but it just like reaches the fact that like Vaughan implies that the only way he could get to where he was, the best he could do, was to compromise, and because like ultimately like an independent just can't really get anywhere politically in this country, anywhere meaningful. And yeah, we got Jesse Ventura as governor of Minnesota, but
governor here, a senator there, but not real, not big victories really.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to ask though. You said, like you mentioned, like he was given powers, but it looked like it was accidental. Like was it an accident?
He was given powers accidentally.
Oh, okay, that's what you meant.
Yeah, because basically like, he was his buddy Bradbury called him up he wanted to investigate this thing by the Brooklyn Bridge. He thought it might be a bomb.
Yeah, that's what I saw. It looked like it was a bomb or something.
It was, but it was just something from somewhere else.
Okay.
And it just exploded in his face, and they gave him the powers to talk to machines.
Okay. Yes. I saw that he had like a little Two-Face moment going on there.
Oh yeah, it's like his visual design for his weapon his powers is always kind of interesting. It's also fun to hear him talk about. Tell everyone who asks, like, I can't tell you about my powers because the NSA has told me that I can't talk about them. And it's also interesting, like the government, like some of the government agents, like who've talked to him, like, yeah, it's like we understand, like, yeah, so this guy from a parallel universe showed up, and I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but like you just understand that kind of shit happens. Mm-hmm. So it's it's fun hearing stuff like that hinted at over the course of the series. Just, you believe that would be a reasonable governmental response. Yeah, but the end, the final image. I mean, I can believe it, but also, because the thing is, I mean, Vaughan talks about how a story, after a story ends, whenever you go beyond that point, all you get is regret, pain, and loss. But then you think about but look at where 100 ended up, and you wonder well, yeah, stopping at the story at this point makes his point perfectly, and he's entitled to do that because he's the writer. But just wonder now that he's in this position, couldn't he have just used it as a launching pad for bigger and better things? I mean, people have done it. People have launched from this position before, so I just kind of wonder. It seems overly nihilist and dark. It makes sense, but you just kind of wonder. It's well, I mean, he Vaughan hedges his bets by ending it right there. Yeah. Oh, and also I would be remiss in talking about this series without mentioning the great art of Tony Harris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because this guy, I mean, he from Starman, he did some great stuff there, but it was more deep, sharp, angular stuff. Here he draws a lot more great, realistic human characters. I mean, it's perfectly believable, and he's also part of the best argument you can imagine for using character actual actors to pose for your story.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that too. I was skimming through the artwork, and I'm wow, Tony Harris's artwork, the positioning and the gestures of some of these characters in here. I'm looking at this bum flicking off. Who's this character?
The automaton.
Yeah, flicking him off. I was like, wow, that looks pretty good. Oh, he's a heroin addict. So I was like, wow, this is the angles and the positioning of the character. It looks realistic. And then at the end of volume 1. You see that he has real actors
people posing for his stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, I know that method's been used for by many artists before him, but I mean that's just interesting to see that he has actors posing and he has the exact angles that he wants
exactly
for his drawings to be in. He has the actors pose in the same position and the same angle, captures the image and draws it like that, and I was like, that's a very cool and interesting method.
Yeah, and the thing, it's he's compared to someone like Greg Land, who, isn't quite as terrible as he's been made out to be, but I mean, Harris has done great stuff with this series, and I love his work here. But the thing is, even though there's some odd points where he the characters supposed to seem a bit unnatural, they don't seem quite right. But still, overall, it's lovely stuff until you get to the last volume, because then you start looking at some of the stuff, and it starts becoming very, very rough. Because the thing is,
that's awesome.
Yeah, the thing is, Ex Machina didn't really have a set schedule. I mean, they'd be doing stuff it's kind of for a while it had when stuff was done.
Yeah, it wasn't a typical monthly.
Yeah, I mean
monthly release or.
Originally, I heard the schedule was supposed to be 10 issues a year, but then eventually it became slowed down to the point where apparently they just needed the time to get it done. And the problem is you look at some of the stuff in volume 10, and it's kind of this stuff is rough. It's you just got the feeling that Vaughan and Harris, they wanted to get this done, and unfortunately it needed to be bashed out as soon as possible. I mean, it's not.
Let me see this one.
Yeah, it's not terrible in parts, but a lot of the stuff is very uneven in the last volume. I will definitely tell you that much. I mean,
well, at the same time, I mean, looking at this style too, I kind of like the rough style in this volume because it kind of fits with the grittiness of the story so far. I mean, I'm looking through, different volumes, and I see the violence and the vulgarity, which it brings kind of a human nature to the storyline. This kind of style, this gritty style, kind of fits it.
Yeah,
I kind of like this a little better.
Yeah, and I think that's probably shows you what a talented artist Harris says that even when he's like forced to like just bash stuff out, like say like this panel right here with his deputy mayor, and he's like, yeah, it looks. You can tell he rushed it out, but it's like it still managed to like maintain like being like an image that draws your eye as well.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, but still overall, I mean, it's like I think it's a great series, 10 volumes, and it's also worth noting that Vaughan was recruited to write Lost. Well, be one of the staff writers on Lost during the time that he was doing this series.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And you can also see if you're a fan of Lost, you also notice that Hurley is reading a volume of Why the Last Man, I think in season 5. So, but it's also interesting because like you look at like Vaughan's work here, and it's like I think that the guys at Lost could have stood to learn a thing or two from him about how to structure like a nice ongoing serial. Because much as I love Lost, they like a lot of their like dangling plot threads are eventually like resolved in the bonus film that was included in the season 6 DVD package, and that kind of felt like sour grapes because like all of the answers to a lot of the little ongoing mysteries they had were just so simple and tossed off that you just felt that they could have just been answered by like a throwaway line of dialogue in any random scene. Mm-hmm. But looking at Vaughan's work with Ex Machina in particular, I mean, he obviously knew how he was going to end the series, and he planned for that perfectly because everything fits in really well, and like I say, it's a great series. Highly recommend it. Like, and it's just because they're posting like in deluxe editions, especially collect 2 trade paperbacks for the price of 1.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good
yeah, it's always a good deal. And so like I said, highly recommend it. Yeah, it's got its issues. And it's like it might seem like kind of like it doesn't make sense, but I can tell you that Vaughan actually did think things out. If he seems like he's leading you by the nose through certain sections, like Power Down, then like I can tell you that eventually it all makes sense. It's like it takes a bit of patience to get there, but trust me. And I also say I had to use it's a great pop culture comparison that I've been saving up for this podcast. It's basically if I had to try the series, it's basically the Lost meets West Wing.
So do you predict a movie being done for this series?
If I were a betting man, I'd think this would be better served as being a TV series.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it would run because now that it's done, I mean, like they basically would have to. I can see them like fitting in as much time as needed in the 4 years that 100 was mayor, but I definitely think a TV series would serve this better.
Yeah.
Much like The Walking Dead.
Right.
Because I mean, going back to what you said earlier, like Vaughan being a writer with Lost, like I mean, you see comic books nowadays, like you see like a greater interest in comic books because you have like a lot of like talented writers and actually like professional writers coming in to do these storylines that are actually like intriguing more people than just us comic book nerds. Like they're actually creating like great intriguing stories that are getting people not only to read again, but I mean just bringing back like the spark of imagination again. Like it's just amazing how I'm more, like you say, you're more of a story guy. I'm more of an art guy. Like I still like buying comic books based off the art, but I mean nowadays, like you have, comic books like this and The Walking Dead. Like they're actually like, enjoyable to sit down and read, like instead of watching an episode. And that's why I asked if you actually think this would be, a movie or a film, because even nowadays, like what we talked about earlier today, like comic book films are actually, I think drawing people back more into comic books because they want to like get more deeper into the story. I mean, look at Watchmen. Like when Watchmen came out in theaters, like people didn't, what the hell is Watchmen? And now they watch it and want to read the comic books. And I feel like this might be, another one of those stories more people want to get into.
Yeah, there's like I think it was like I haven't really heard much like action being made on like making this into like a movie or TV series. Mm-hmm. I've heard that Why the Last Man, Vaughn's other series, and to be honest, I think this is his signature series.
Right.
That's been optioned as a movie, and I heard he's worked on the script, but whether or not we'll actually see anything relating to that is just kind of like, maybe, but it'll be nice.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see that, but I do think Ex Machina would be better served as a TV series, because it's like I said, I described it as a hybrid between two other successful series.
Miniseries at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who does that anymore these days? Well,
Sci-fi.
or the BBC.
The BBC,
So.
yeah, they love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I particularly, as just thumbing through the first volume, he likes, not only does his art look good, but he uses very strong imagery.
Right.
Like recognizable symbols.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking, like, for instance, you saw the thing you were talking about with, the Twin Towers,
Yes.
Yeah, just seeing one.
Just seeing one. But I mean, like, Lincoln and a lot of other things.
Yeah, the painting of Lincoln, like this Lincoln painting with a term across it is very, like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, damn.
Yeah. And also, another great thing about Bring Out the Old, though, is I have to bring this up because you just reminded me about this, is that one of the issues they used in there is basically Vaughan and Harris write themselves into the comic.
Oh, really?
Because basically, Mayor 100 decides, hey, I want to do my life story as a comic book.
Yep.
So basically, Vaughan and Harris show up to tell the story, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun meta story. It's also probably one of the funniest, the funniest line I've read in a comic book, American or Japanese, period, this year. But it's very context sensitive, and I can't really tell you this, but let's say it involves Vaughan being mistaken for another bald comic book writer. But it's a great fun story, and I just want to say that if I had to ask for one more Ex Machina story, it would be a story like this, but it would also tell the story of how Vaughan and Harris did not get the job of writing Hundred's biography, but how Garth Ennis and Jim Lee did.
Nice.
So I would love to see that story, but I don't think it's going to happen, ever. I can just hope, I can just ask Vaughan about it at Comic-Con if he shows up this year. But, yeah, and on that note, like I said, it's a great series, and I highly recommend you buy it. But we're gonna call it a night now, because I think we've gone way over the usual limit. So we'll be back next week. Hopefully, talk about a series that I recommend for another best of 2000, but we'll see.
Right.
Best of 2010. My bad.
All right, we'll catch
10 years.
you then.
How did I manage
End of year special. See you later.
Oh, it's yeah. We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay.
Later.